The afterlife, I just don't know. All that time, I just don't know. The afterlife, I just don't know. I just won't know. I just won't know.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the end of the world with Michael and Stu.
Well, I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu, and today we are resuming our occasional series, A Brief History of the Afterlife.
A brief.
I thought it was a very brief.
We'll get it right for part 3.
Yeah, for the third run of episodes. Yeah, we're still workshopping it now that this is the 6th in our series, 6th episode overall, but this is the sort of second segment. We'll be doing Afterlife eps for the next couple weeks. Today it is our honor, our privilege to discuss the ancient Zoroastrian afterlife.
One of my favorites so far.
Yeah, I think this one's good. It's interesting. Before we get into that, however, I wanted to just do a brief rundown for anyone who maybe has started listening to the pod more recently and be curious to go back to the series that started last summer, summer of 25. Yeah. Here we are in spring 26. We're back. We started out the kind of introductory episode talking about the Albert Brooks film Defending Your Life, which one of our most popular episodes, interestingly.
One of my favorite episodes.
I mean, a fun movie and a good conversation that we had. After that, we and I think there's some similarities with the Zoroastrian afterlife. There's some sort of moments of judgment that kind of recall Judgment City from that film. After that, we talked about prehistoric ideas of the afterlife, looking into what our Neanderthal cousins may have believed, early ideas of ceremonial burial. From there, we went to one of the oldest known civilizations. Of course, I speak of the Sumerians and the early Mesopotamians. Talked about the Epic of Gilgamesh, the depiction of the afterlife found therein. And then we also discussed the ancient Egyptians, the Field of Reeds, their sort of vision of a sort of peaceful eternity amongst the reeds of the Nile. Talked about how that tied in with the
sounds pretty good
pyramid texts. Yeah. Their whole theory of embalming, interesting stuff. And then the most recent episode we did back in last September was ancient Hinduism, the sort of the earliest form of the contemporary, still very large religion of Hinduism. And that is actually related to Zoroastrianism. There's a little bit of debate about how this relationship, much of it for our often mentioned earlier podcast that is only coming into sort of backdoor existence, backdoor pilot style now.
Can we also situate when this was occurring?
Well, I'm about to get into all of that, right? One of the big problems with Zoroastrianism is we don't know when. There's a huge scholarly debate. Yeah, it's so.
Oh, fun.
So basically, like, there seems to have been a common ancient Indo-European religion from which both Zoroastrianism and Hinduism sprang in the region that borders between northern India and modern Pakistan and modern Iran, Afghanistan. Like, that whole area is kind of where we think this Indo-European religion existed. And we know that there's a relationship because basically the Hindus and the Zoroastrians have the same names for the gods and the kind of devils, except they're flipped. So the Hindus worship the people, these beings called the Devas, and the most ancient forms of Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu are forms of these Devas. And there are these other beings called the Asuras, who are the kind of evil, demonic, devil-like spirits, okay? With Zoroastrianism, it is exactly the opposite. They worship or venerate these beings called Ahuras, very similar to Ashuras, while considering Daivas to be malevolent demons. Okay?
How does that happen?
We don't know. I mean, when I first read about this, I thought, oh, well, there must have been some kind of fantasy book style war. Or like, well, no, the Devas are good. No, and like the Targaryens must defeat the Valyrians. That's immediately where my mind went. But then looking into the scholarship a little bit, there's no evidence for that. There's no archaeological evidence for some kind of definitive split between these two groups. Probably what happened was they migrated in different directions, and over hundreds of years, these two faiths emerged, emphasizing different aspects of a once shared mythology.
Huh. Fascinating.
Now, we don't know when this split happened, but it's probably before about 1700 BCE. So we're talking almost 4,000 years ago. This is a very ancient split.
Okay.
Zoroastrianism is thought by many to be the precursor of the Abrahamic monotheistic religions. While it has some polytheistic characteristics, there is one supreme god, and that is Ahura Mazda. And while they're subservient figures, they're kind of the equivalent of like the angels in Catholicism or Orthodoxy, right? Where it's like there's God, but then there's like, well, what's the angel Gabriel? Like, he's not a god, he's an angel. It's different, right? It's
right.
With Zoroastrianism, we have Ahura Mazda, who's the creator being, the one unchallengeable, and then he has Angra Mainyu, who's this sort of Satan figure, the Lord of Darkness. Ahura Mazda is associated with light, with fire, with purity. Angra Mainyu is associated with lying, darkness, impurity, deceit. It's a classic.
Do we have any idea, like when? I mean, I know we don't know exactly when this split is, but do we have any sense of like how many people we're talking about? Like, is this these two tiny groups relatively who are like, I mean, taking these beliefs and sort of morphing them into their own? Presumably
initially, but over time, quite large empires would be dominated by these faiths. So as I said, we don't know really it is interesting that these names are similar, right? And that these two groups that ended up, northern India, Iran, not that far away, hundreds of miles, but close enough. And yeah, there's one thing that's really different between the two faiths is that Hinduism doesn't have like one guy that we point to as like, that is Johnny Hindu or whatever, that's not like like a Jesus figure, a Muhammad figure, a Buddha, right? A central prophet. Zoroastrianism is the first world faith that is associated with like a singular prophet. And that guy is Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra, right? So when Nietzsche writes, thus spoke Zarathustra, like he's like channeling the ancient pre-Christian like religious as a kind of counter to Christianity, which
does this figure have an origin story within?
Well, this is the other problem is like we just have no idea. Like the dates for Zoroaster, in English we say Zoroaster, Zarathustra is like the Greek name and the name Nietzsche uses.
Do you think that's why he gravitated to using this figure, because it was sort of unknown how they came to be?
I mean, Nietzsche can kind of project his philosophy onto this guy because he's even older than the Greeks. He's older than Christianity. He's older than Judaism. He's like one of the oldest figures that's named that we think existed. Although some people claim that he lived from around 1800 to 1700 BC. That's like the early dating. But then other people are like, no, that's all wrong. He didn't actually live until 500 BC. so there's like a huge, and there are good reasons to think both. Some scholars have looked at the text and said, no, this text is more consistent with this later date or this earlier, right? And there's no archaeological evidence to support it either way. We just we're kind of left guessing. Now, he has, there's a set of, we talked in our Vedic Hinduism episode about the Vedas, which are the most ancient sacred texts, prayers, rituals that describe the way in which one should live one's life in order to most please the god, or the gods rather. Zoroastrianism has a similar set of sacred texts that are attributed to Zoroaster as the author. And these are, this is called the Avesta. And this
isn't people writing about him. The idea is that he actually scribed this stuff.
Right. But I mean, we have no way of knowing. It's not like you can use stylometrics. One of the problems with that is that the language that the Avesta is written in is known as, wait for it, Avestan. And Avestan is the only text we have in Avestan. So there's no comparative. We can't be like, well, Avestan from 500 looks like this, and Avestan from 2000 looks like this. So it's hard to determine a spectrum when this is the only extant text. The reason we can translate it all is because it's translated into later texts as well, and we can kind of piece it back together, like with the Rosetta Stone or something like that, right? And there's different parts of the Avesta, but they are... it's very concerned with like ritual rules, prayers, and other pieces of sage wisdom. I mean, this isn't so different from the Christian and Jewish, the Jewish Torah, the Christian Old Testament, a lot of which is attributed to Moses, right? Like, oh, Moses wrote this. In that case, it's a little different though, because we have enough that we could be like, no, the same person did not write all these different, like there's some parts that are much older. Clearly this is a revision that was written at the, so we also, but as with Moses, like we kind of suspect that this text was written by more than one person over a long time, but it's all attributed to Zoroaster, who could have lived at any point from 1800 to 500. Right? Like it's,
and are they primarily rules to adhere to the ritual of the religion, or also lifestyle rules,
all of the
things
above.
You're prohibited from doing? Everything.
That's right. It's the equivalent of the Bible, I'm sure. I don't think it has as much so and so begat so and so who begat. It doesn't have the genealogical aspects of the Bible as much. It's more prescriptive. Like this is how this is how to live if you want to be holy. This is how to live if you want to be doomed.
I'd like to be doomed. How should I live?
Now, one of the aspects of Hinduism we spoke about was the importance of cremation, right? That the dead are burned. Zoroastrianism doesn't always do cremation, but fire is one of the elements that's most associated with Zoroastrianism. In fact, it's often misstated that Zoroastrians worshipped fire. They're referred to as fire worshippers. And this is because their temples all contained flames that were like eternally burning, essentially. And it's not because they worshipped fire, however. It's because fire was the most potent symbol of the purity of Ahura Mazda. Okay? So
fire is associated with the good life, not the demonic
fire
life.
is good. Like the purity, like purgation, purification is like very central to the beliefs of the Zoroastrians. Now, we're going to try our best to piece together what they believed about the afterlife. There are, one of the problems is some of these things are not written down until much later. I mean, Zoroastrianism is interesting. It's a very old religion, obviously. It's older than, it's as old as Hinduism, probably, and older than Judaism, Christianity, Islam, any of the other Buddhism, any of the other major world
When does
religions.
it hang around till?
Still around. There are still Zoroastrians.
What?
Yeah.
How many?
A couple 100,000, I think.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Most of them live in northern India because after the Iranian Revolution, those that had remained in Iran, kind of fled because it was an Islam.
Has it undergone major transformations, or is it relatively consistent to these initial texts?
It's undergone a lot of transformations, but I I don't know in enough detail to really give you a
Sure.
clear answer, but yes.
But the basic through line is there.
Ahura Mazda,
The
Angra
origin story.
Mainyu.
Okay.
Angra Mainyu,
Yeah.
the devil figure, is often called Ahriman. In
Nice.
more recent, Ahriman is a cool name, right?
Yes.
Oh, what's that? Oh my God, no, it's Ahriman. He's after us again. Right? You don't know? You simply must meet Ahriman. He's wonderful. In any case, they basically believe that some of these, as I said, some of these ideas of the afterlife are not written down until like 900 CE, 800 CE. So like well after the rise of Islam, at which point the majority of Persia, as it's still known at the time, converts to Islam, but pockets of Zoroastrianism remain. And it remains, to this day, there are, as I said, at least hundreds of thousands of Zoroastrians still living and practicing in the world. Many of them in northern India, some of them in the United States, right? Not very many openly practicing in Iran, I would imagine, right? Given the sort of religious dictatorship there.
Yeah.
Probably, hey, what's that? That better not be fire. In any case, people point to Zoroastrianism as I said earlier, as sort of paving the way for the later monotheistic religions. And it has some similarities with our familiar Judeo-Christian idea of heaven and hell. So basically they believe that like after death, the soul and the body split apart. Classic, right? What's that?
I said classic.
Yeah. Now, if the spirit, however, stays near the body for a few days, just kind of hanging out. It lingers.
Okay.
And
a set amount of time or just kind of
3 days.
Remind
3
days.
Remind you of anything? 3 days.
Yeah.
During this period, the soul engages in prayer. Okay, so the soul is like hanging up by its body, praying over its own deceased body. We'll talk about what happens.
Okay, so wait, I have a question about this.
Yes.
So they believe that the soul engages in prayer if you've been practicing this religion in your life. This doesn't happen to everyone when they die.
Well, it might. But if
like,
you haven't been practicing
the prayer,
if you haven't been practicing the religion, you're kind of hanging around wondering, wait,
you just kind of, oh my God, what the hell is this?
What is my body? What's going on here? Right? I mean, you hear from those near-death experience people sometimes. Like I was hanging out above my body as I could hear the meter, the heart monitor beeping because it had flatlined or whatever. And then I got sucked into a black void, and then I woke up, and they said, "Oh, we lost you for a second. We brought you back." Right? Sort of.
I was like, I better learn my Zoroastrian prayer cycle for next time.
Yeah, maybe that's the real lesson people should be taking away instead of this. Like, I saw Grandma and Jesus, and they were welcoming. Remember that industry of kids who like had near-death experiences and wrote books about it?
Yeah, there was that famous book. What was it called? Something about heaven, obviously.
Oh. Right. Heaven is real.
Heaven is real.
Something like that. Yeah.
We definitely will be covering that at some point. Brilliant stuff.
I mean, and then of course Tuesdays with Maury will be the six people you meet in heaven.
Five people.
Five, six. I'm giving him too much credit here. It's not even six. The album. We'll have an album episode as the kind of culmination of our Afterlife series, perhaps.
Yes. Why not?
So basically, if you've been good and you have led a righteous life, this period of praying will be cool. You'll be like, you're kind of getting warmed up. However, if you have been wicked and impious, this period will be extremely unpleasant.
Sure.
They'll be like, I don't think the prayers.
So, just to be clear, is God affecting that, or is it just the impact of knowing what your life was? See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I have no way of being sure, but I'm assuming you're like doing the prayers and you're like, I don't think this is working.
This isn't hitting. This is not hitting. and then maybe it is working, but if you're anxious, you're in there and you're like, is this working enough? Wait, was I bad? And then you start going through all the things. It could be a very difficult process, right?
Well, it's certainly like the Albert Brooks of it all, right? The sort of the neurotic afterlife, right? Yeah. So at dawn on the fourth day, a good soul will encounter a sweet smell from heaven. So on the fourth day, if you're like, oh, what's that pleasant odor?
Well, there's your tell. Yeah.
Yeah. While an
Am
evil
I smelling? That would be tough too. Am I smelling? Am I smelling good? Am I smelling bad? What the hell is happening?
Wait, is that good? I think it's good. I'm not sure.
Is there a clock? How am I supposed to know if this is the fourth day?
However, an evil soul will encounter a rotten stench from hell.
Sure. Yeah.
That's probably pretty. Once we get that, you're probably.
That's a really fun way of letting you know which way this.
But
thing
it's
is
not
going.
the final. It's not the final. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
there's some more options. At this point, you'll encounter a Diana, a holy maiden who personifies conscience, and she'll appear beautiful if the soul is good, and terrifying if the soul is evil. But again, there's all this subjectivity. I mean. Maybe
incredible amount of subject. Maybe it's your type.
What if you're into goth women, right? Or like,
love a goth.
You're like, oh, it's
woman.
Vampira, my beloved 60s,
That's right.
50s.
But I guess that is exactly the type of temptation that maybe you're not supposed to. The path you're not supposed to go down.
That's why you don't get into Vampirella or any of those various vampire late night video movie hosts from the 60s. I guess Vampirella was a comic.
Tread carefully, right?
Yeah. So
she's either beautiful or terrifying, not ugly.
No, terrifying. Like,
so she's either beautiful or terrifying.
Right. Like I'm imagining like she has snakes coming out of her eyes or something, like,
Right.
And she will then lead your soul to the peak of material reality in the Alborz Mountains, which is the highest mountain range in Persia, in modern Iran. And
kind of flying you up there.
Presumably, your soul. So I'm imagining a floating soul. And you'll be also shepherded by the angel Surosh, who guards against the onslaught of demons during this transitional phase. So while you're going towards this mountain peak to be judged, demons are trying to just get you, regardless of whether you're good or evil. They're
interesting. And even if you're bad, they don't let the demons get through.
No, because you have to go through this. Okay. Well, you'll see what happens. It's pretty anxiety inducing. You're going to like this.
Oh,
so this is the highest mountain range. Atop this peak, the soul will be confronted with the Chinvat Bridge. Okay. Great name, right? What's that? Is that? Oh yeah. I live just in the shadow of the Chinvat Bridge. Yeah. That's hey, is the Chinvat Bridge open? Will this Uber have to take the Williamsburg?
You can't miss it. You can't miss it. It's right in front of the Chinvat.
Oh, we're going to have to take the 59th Street. The Chinvat is closed for repairs. And this is the place where the world of the material, the body, earth, is separated from the realm of the eternal, ruled by Ahura Mazda. And the bridge is the link between these two worlds. And it's only visible to the soul. So even if you climb up these mountains in IRL, you're not going to see the bridge. It's not going to be there. It's only after you're dead that you can encounter it. And it's guarded by two divine dogs.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah. I think they're fierce. They're fearsome.
Oh.
I mean, we're going to get into this more next week, but remember Cerberus, the three-headed dog in hell.
Of course. Oh.
Maybe a little foreshadowing of our next topic. So
an extra head, I suppose.
So here's the thing about the bridge. On the other side of the bridge, it's heaven, paradise.
Great.
You're good. However, if you fall off the bridge, you fall straight.
The tribe has spoken.
Exactly. You fall straight into hell. That's it for you. And at this point, the angel Rashnu, with a coterie of other angels, will present a book of your life's deeds.
Ooh.
So this is very similar to the Albert
Brooks.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah.
And it's not a TV. In that movie,
it feels much heavier though. Yeah.
It's a book. It's a tome. They're like, or maybe it would have been a scroll. This is all
depending, right?
Right. There's no defense attorney, prosecutor situation. It's not quite.
Wonder what would happen, right? If you had crafted a life of like indifference. So you didn't do deeds for fear of, doing bad deeds. So never mind good or bad, you were just deedless.
You're paralyzed by dread.
I guess they're just making a judgment call at that point, right?
Right. I mean, not to quote Rush again, but that choice to not do anything is probably bad, right?
Okay. Right.
So what happens basically is the bridge responds to your deeds. So
That's frightening.
if you've led a perfect righteous life, the bridge is going to be wide. It's going to be
penitent man shall pass.
it's going to be it's very similar to that. It's going to be very easy to walk across. You're not going to have any worries. There's going to be just like lanes of traffic on either side of you. There's no chance of you falling off. However, if you've been wicked, will become unbelievably treacherous and narrow and all but impassable. So you're going to be like, what is his name? Philip Petit on the tower, that little tightrope between the twin towers, right? And maybe he would get through because he has that skill in his
that is an interesting
his
question.
tool bag,
right? Is there a skill that would allow slightly worse person through, or do you think that has anything actually to do with it?
I'm guessing probably not, right?
Sure.
Eventually, it's like a single spider thread.
But maybe there's got to be some middle ground where it's a tough call.
Yeah.
Right. Because this is the one thing, as opposed to saying like, you cannot do this, and for this sin, if you don't repent, like goodbye. Right.
Yeah.
This is implying that there's some sort of measurement, which is a fascinating way of doing it. Right. Because it's like, okay, you do 12 good deeds and 14 bad deeds. What is happening? Is it a strict, you know what I mean? Is it a numbers game?
Is it like a scale? Like one?
Yeah, because like within those deeds, like what is the weight for each deed? You might be really good in your good deeds. You might like your OPS might be through the roof.
That's right.
Whereas your bad deeds, like maybe you're not supposed to smoke cigarettes, right? It's very, in every moment you're doing it is not having a hugely harmful impact, but
the sum total, what if your secondhand smoke gave a lady cancer,
That's
or
exactly
how about
right.
what if like your good deeds that were holy had accidental unintended consequences?
We're very much in the Brooks world here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it's a difficult thing to weigh out, right?
Yeah.
But the basic idea seems to be that a good person who's obeyed the rules of set down in the Avesta will have an easy time walking into heaven.
Okay.
And the bad person will trip and fall directly into hell. And basically, Rashnu, the angel who's doing the judgment, even say you have an easy path, but you're having a Michael Terry-esque anxiety attack regardless. Rashnu will guide you along. He's going to reach out and be like, you're going to get it. Don't
worry.
I'm here to help.
You're in, man. You're in. Trust me, you're in.
Yeah. So,
or if you're doing well and you're not supposed to get in,
maybe Rashnu takes a little,
maybe
he just sort of,
geez, sorry, a little flat tire. You do those back in school? Flat tire.
Yeah. Or he like sways the bridge a little bit, maybe it's a rope bridge. I think, speaking of Indiana Jones.
Well, let's say you get there to the good side. Let's start there. What does it look like?
Well, good news. There are 4 realms of heaven. Okay.
I love it.
So the judgment isn't
a
even
bit of variety.
The judgment isn't over. What's that?
It's one of my big concerns. There's no variety in heaven. This sounds good so far.
Right. The David Byrne, heaven is a place where nothing ever happens dread. Right.
That's right.
So these are roughly the four like realms of heaven are roughly the low heaven of good thoughts. So you meant well, Then there's the middle heaven of good words. You meant well, and you said some good stuff. You encouraged your friends. There's the slightly higher heaven of good deeds. So you meant well, you said good words, and then you put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. You did the good deeds. Right. And then there is, of course, this supreme heaven of eternal light.
Sounds tough to get to.
Yeah, I think it's a tough bridge to cross, so to speak. But that's the goal. All of them are good, though. All of them are pleasant. Even the most basic level of heaven, you're not in misery. You're happy. Sure. But what increases?
You're not in purgatory. This is not purgatory.
Nothing like it. There's a level of constant pleasure. It's just that level gets ratcheted up the higher the heaven you ascend to.
Interesting.
Now, this is going to shock you, but there also are 4 realms of hell. And each is filled with torture and pain. But of course, again, the torture and pain becomes more and more severe the deeper
Right.
you
So
fall.
Hell of Evil Thoughts, and maybe you like
Hell of
you
Evil
have to
Thoughts,
watch, like,
you
you have to watch like the 3 years in a row that the Yankees won the World Series in the mid '90s, like on repeat. But you're still watching baseball. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's a nightmare in
Yeah.
the sense that the
you
Yankees are
get to
winning every
see
time.
the Lakers beat the Celtics in 2010 Game 7 over and over again
That's
for
right.
eternity.
That's right.
Fate worse than death for some of us.
5 for 24 over and over and over again. Yeah, that'd be hell.
Anyway, there's also the hell of evil words. So that's when not only did you have some evil thoughts, you had some evil words. You know, you whisper, you put a little Grima worm tongue. You whispered in some Theoden's ear, turning him from the light to the darkness.
Sure.
Sorry, a little Lord of the Rings on the brain, I guess. I don't know where that came from. And then, of course, there is the hell of evil deeds,
Right.
where not only did you
Building
Grima
up.
worm tongue, you actually lit your son on fire. Like, you know, you went all the way. All right, enough about the Lord of the Rings. And then, of course, there's the final hell, the hell of eternal darkness, which lies closest to Angra Mainyu, the eternal opponent of Ahura Mazda. And again, after you fall off the bridge, Rashnu makes sure you fall into the slot for the right hell, just as he leads you to
Sure.
the correct
Which is
heaven.
interesting because there's so much balance here that you could almost see a scenario where you actually spend time in the different realms. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
if you're right on the border, it's like, okay, you're going to do 3 days in the low heaven of good thoughts, and then 3 days in the hell of evil thoughts, and sort of go back and forth.
Not
you know?
allowed.
Kind of like our lives. You know, you got your weekdays, and then you got your weekends.
Yeah. Or you've got your manias, then you've got your depressions, right? Like,
That's right. Yes, exactly.
yeah. However, the soul does not stay in its assigned place forever.
Ooh.
Now, this isn't what you were just suggesting. This is instead, all of this time in heaven or hell only lasts up until the final purification, the final moment of judgment, okay? During which all souls will be reunited with their physical bodies, or their bodies will be kind of recreated, okay?
In better shape, or just what
I'm
you had?
assuming if you got run over by a truck, they're not going to put you with the tire treads on your face or whatever, right?
But you don't know, right?
No, but you'll you're like, not this again, right? So the righteous at this point will be allowed to enter the new physical paradise during this final judgment. So if you're already in one of the good places, you're getting like
Now
a new
you're really coasting.
you're getting a new suit of clothes, you're getting a fresh body, you know, you're moving on.
Haircut, shave.
And this is like presumably an even more exquisite final paradise where you're actually in the body again. So maybe
Now here's a question. Do you think you go from, let's say you're in the low heaven of good thoughts.
Yeah.
Then you do the final purification. Bam, you got a body. You're going to physical paradise. Is it physical paradise still level 1?
I don't think so.
See what I'm saying?
I think all people get, but I think what happens is you go through more purification if you're in one of the lower heavens.
I see. Okay. So it
Because-
takes longer, perhaps, right, to clean your soul.
That's
essentially.
right. Well, because look what happens next, right? The evil souls from hell will also get to go to the final paradise. However, in order to make
name
it,
only.
what's that?
In name only.
Well, no, they'll get to make it, but they have to go through a painful purification in fire and lava.
This is very progressive.
So you burn. I mean, I don't know, man. We don't have any clear.
What?
We don't have any clear idea of how long this fire and lava stage lasts.
Yeah, but if you're talking about eternity,
Then it's worth it.
then that is like, of everything we've looked at so far, this is, and probably well into the future episodes, that is an extremely kind olive branch.
I
Wouldn't you
agree.
say?
I agree. Absolutely.
I mean, maybe it's tough sledding if you're in one of the not so bad levels of hell. But man, if you're eternal darkness level and you still get to eventually end up in physical paradise with a new body, and you just gotta gut out some fire and lava, that's still like really forgiving spot.
I agree. And after this moment of final judgment and purification, hell actually ceases to exist.
Amazing.
And the demons that were trying to get you when you're on your way to the bridge, they're destroyed. Angra Mainyu, the devil himself, is killed. He's vanquished. He doesn't exist anymore.
Wow. This sounds pretty great. I mean,
Yeah. And now
takes you out. It
all the
says,
souls
here's what you
that
did.
have, all the
Here's where you
souls,
stand.
yeah, all the souls that have ever existed will dwell together in a new paradise on Earth. And
Wow.
everyone will be immortal, ageless, and unchanging. Now, however, I think we get into a little bit of the heaven is a place where nothing ever happens vibe, maybe.
Sure.
Because now we've got
But I mean, look, man, if you've started in hell of evil deeds and now you're just heaven and nothing's happening, you're going to take that.
it's worth
You're
it.
going to take that huge time.
Oh, 100,000 out of 100,000 times, obviously.
That's right.
Right? Now,
I'll take unchanging. You kill for unchanging at that point.
yeah. Now, what's interesting about this is even though there's talk of being reunited with the body, which I just mentioned, as far as we can tell, the Zoroastrians, at least from the time of Herodotus, practiced a form of sky burial. Are you familiar with sky burial, Michael?
No,
You've never heard of sky burial?
never.
Oh, sky burial is metal as hell. It's still practiced.
Tell me more.
So basically, you know,
I'm struggling to even think about what it could mean. Sky
basically,
burial.
they take your body after you've died and the rituals have been
Sure.
done or whatever, the 3 days, the praying, and they leave you, at least in ancient Zoroastrianism, they take you to a place called a Tower of Silence,
Wow.
which is in an isolated area away from populated peoples. And they pile you in the center of these towers. Some of these towers from later times still exist. You can see the ruins. And
Wow.
and basically what happens is your body decomposes and is picked apart by birds of prey, vultures and the like.
Seems fair.
And it's
Circle
called
of
a
life stuff, right?
It's a sky burial because the birds take your body off and eat you and, you know, into the sky.
Now, is that still happening today?
Yeah, not in Iran, but in parts of Tibet they still do that and other places. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, you're like just rejoining the cosmos, essentially.
There would be technically a way for us to do that still.
I think it would be a stretch for us to do it, but yeah.
Well, if we put it in my will, like, Stu, can you take me?
I mean,
Tibet.
there's laws about what you can do with the body and stuff, and you know. But yeah, I mean, you have to probably convert to
Okay.
the sect.
Looks like I need a new best friend. You don't want it enough?
No,
You don't
all
wanna-
right, Michael. I'll attend to your sky burial. I'm sure Maggie will be thrilled. Where are you going with Michael's body, Stu? Oh,
He
yeah.
wanted birds to eat it. No, but I mean, all jokes aside, that does sound
It's cool,
sort of
right? I think
romantic. Yeah.
I think it's cool too. And yeah, you just return to nature, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know when this practice started, but Herodotus does mention an early form of exposure after death. Like this was done at least as early as 500s to 600s BCE. Like Herodotus talks about this in the Achaemenid times. The Achaemenids, who are the great Persian Empire, they kind of kick off Persia as a world historical power in the 500s BC. These are the people that will eventually fall to Alexander the Great, right? They're the ones who kind of spread Zoroastrianism to its like maximal. There's even some rumors, part of the confusion about when Zoroaster lived is that some Greeks are like, oh yeah, Zoroaster was friends with Cyrus the Great. And it's like, well, wait a minute, but Zoroaster we thought lived 1200 years. But then there's like all this Atlantis stuff where people are like, yeah, Zoroaster, he lived 6,000 years before Plato.
What?
Yeah. And it's like, well, we know he's not from, 6,300 BC. Like that's too early.
Right. So, like, is that designed to give him more credence?
Authority? Yeah, presumably.
Yeah, like being older tends to.
Well, just like
help that,
where
yeah.
Atlantis was said to have happened 9,000 years before Plato.
Sure.
Right. So it's like,
Well, not said to. It did, but yeah.
Atlantis Part 3 coming soon.
Yes.
So I think that the connection that the body is ephemeral, the soul is eternal, right? The body doesn't matter as much. Once the spirit has been attended to, it can, the body, whatever happens to the body, God bless. Now, there's also a school of thought that says, and this is going to be kind of a letdown, given all that I've just illustrated how much we liked it. There's also some evidence that Zoroastrians, at least today, they don't believe in any of this mythological afterlife stuff. And they think that actually your only afterlife is the legacy of your good deeds and the people that you touched who will remember you. This is a very...
So how you're remembered.
This is a secular, modern idea. And, that's a little bit similar to Judaism, I think, and even Christianity. You live on in your good deeds. Like this, you can cite as, I think you can sort of see the similarity with the sort of heaven, hell. Like this is paving the way for Christianity, for Judaism, for Islam.
Right. In terms of the updated one, it's Tragically Hip come to mind, of course. Right?
Oh, how so?
Yeah. One of their famous lines, "We don't go to hell, the memories of us do." There
we go. Wow. R.I.P.
Sounds like he's Zoroastrianism. R.I.P.
Gord Downey. Yeah. Well, so that's what I have for Zoroastrianism. I'd say overall, leaving out that last part, let's just say the mythology is real. And that's what
I love, the mythology. This is the front runner for sure for me. We are planning on eventually choosing our favorite and then maybe getting into some imaginative exercises that are loved by the fans of the podcast about what an ideal afterlife might look like.
Yeah, that's right.
Much later.
I can't believe we had an afterlife app and you didn't prepare a hypothetical for us.
Well, I wanted to get back into. I mean, I'm kind of been a little hesitant given some of the negative feedback that we've gotten from the hypothetical questions. But
no, the hypothetical questions are the best, Michael. Come on, negative feedback is what we want.
Next week we're doing ancient Greece.
Yeah, I thought we would just do ancient Greece because we're kind of talking.
You can believe there will be a few hypotheticals for the haters. Drink that haterade.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I mean, it's an area that I'm much more familiar with, having taught ancient Greek lit for many years at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Right. Influenced a whole generation of police's understanding of the ancient Greek afterlife.
And I'll be looking to do a bit of recommended reading from Dr. Watson. So I'm very, very excited as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. And, I love these afterlife episodes. I think it's always fun. And I think
this is how we were going to start it in the first place years ago.
Yeah, the audience seems to respond well to them. They are among the most popular episodes we've ever done. So, all right. So next week, ancient Greece. And until then, if you like the show, you can follow us on the podcatcher of your choice. If you really like the show, you can even leave us a rating and or review on that podcatcher. You can also follow us on Instagram where we make and post exciting reels.
We just leave our posts.
Yeah, we just leave some posts. We scatter a few posts about in the hopes that the carrion birds will pick them up. And yeah, that's the end of the world WMS at Instagram. And ancient Greece next time. And until then, this has been the end of the world with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu, and we will talk to you real soon.